Welcome to this mini-series of the Smart Firefighting Podcast. Today, we're covering stories from outside Metro Fire Chiefs Conference in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where fire chiefs from the world's largest metros gathered. We had various sessions with drone experts to discuss drone hardware, software, and innovation ecosystem developments. Tulsa Fire Department and Oklahoma State University are spearheading some impressive new technology initiatives like drone as a first responder, and it was an honor to witness their cutting-edge efforts firsthand. Enjoy. We're officially rolling live here with Gabe Graveline here in the closet of the equipment room at the Tulsa Fire Training Academy. Is that about right?
That's about right. We'll call it the Task Force Preparedness Room is what we'll call it.
That I couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah, the TPR.
Yeah, TPR. There's an acronym for anything these days.
Yeah. I make them up as I go, actually.
Yeah. Well, man, Tulsa's got a little special energy to it. Besides the tornado warnings that I think happen maybe on a, weekly basis.
Yeah, that's been a couple times a week here lately.
Yeah, last night, even just the thunder, I live in the Midwest, and the thunder and lightning there is sometimes prevalent, but the ones last night, I was like, wow, that felt pretty intense.
Oh yeah, just wait till this afternoon. We got a special surprise waiting for you.
Okay, I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about Gabe Graveline, from the background to get into where you are today. I know you've worn a few hats in public safety, but before we dive into all things drones, tell me about some of your background and evolution within public safety.
Okay. So, I grew up loving aviation. I grew up in West Texas. Thought I wanted to be an airline pilot. Actually moved to Tulsa to go to flight school. Ended up getting involved with air ambulance service, getting their aircraft, stuff like that ready, saw what they did, and ended up being a first responder, obviously a firefighter EMT. I since became a paramedic, but I always kept my love for aviation. So building RC planes growing up, stuff like that, and obviously having my manned pilot's license. I stay pretty involved in aviation. And so when drones first started to kind of make their mark or move in around 2014, 2015, I started getting involved, started a business. And then I saw how they could be used for the betterment of public safety, situational awareness, keeping us safer. So I introduced them to my department. The chiefs were pretty interested in them. They allowed us to get our first drone. And then since then been experimenting, and working with other companies, stuff like that, to try and progress the technology for public safety.
So from a high level and maybe kind of rapid fire, what are some, maybe some basic or advanced use cases of how drones can be used as tools for public safety response?
Well, I guess the way I kind of look at it, you start thinking about the way we do things for pre-planning, some of our target hazards, whether it's hazmat, stuff like that. Just knowing what's around or in that building, being able to do a 3D model and have that available for a response, or should you ever have a response there. That's one way we do things. So we'll do pre-incident planning with the drones, making sure that we make, up-to-date maps, especially on new construction, stuff like that may not appear in Google and that kind of stuff. From there, obviously being prepared for response, being available to have a pilot that can be at the scene if we have a structure fire, a search for missing, endangered, and or, barricaded. I spent about 15 years on the fire truck. I'm about 18 and a half years into my career with the fire department. And I now do what's called CRT, Crisis Response Team, Community Response Team. Mental health, so it's myself, a Tulsa police officer, and a counselor. So our main focus is to de-escalate, to try and help people that are in crisis to calm down and find what the best fit is, whether that's the hospital, whether that's a mental health facility, whether that's keeping them at home, make sure that they're safe. And we use drones for that a lot of times. Sometimes we use that for situational awareness so that we don't come up on a scene, something we're not expecting. So it's come in handy for that. But I think the reason you're here is because we're actually dabbling in drones as a first responder.
Well, I'm here for a few reasons, but one of it is to learn about all the cool stuff you're doing. And frankly, the CRT team, I want to dabble into that for just a couple more seconds. It's a great example of multi-public safety, crossover between fire, police, and I guess public, professional health, mental health professional. How did that start, and what's been the kind of response and overall feedback of that program?
So we got to give credit where credit's due. I know that our model is after Colorado Springs Fire Department. So they did a co-responder collaborative where they had, a lot of places just do an officer and a counselor. We thought that there's actually on a lot of these calls a health issue that can be addressed and or assessed. So we put the paramedic in there. So it's actually worked fantastic. We've all got different viewpoints. We've all got different data to add. And at times, a person doesn't want to speak to an officer, doesn't want to speak to a clinician, but they'll talk to a firefighter. Or vice versa. Some days they don't want to see anybody in uniform. They want to talk to a counselor. And so we use that to our advantage to try and, get to where we need to be to make sure that they're safe and that their others around them are safe as well.
That's an amazing program. It seems like, kudos to Colorado Springs and now Tulsa. And it seems like that potential program has some legs to be copied and replicated across the country.
Yeah, absolutely. And we look forward to being in Omaha next month to present about how we're using drones to de-escalate for mental health.
Oh, what's in Omaha?
It's called the Co-Responder Conference, CoreCon.
CoreCon. Mm-hmm. Gosh, I might need to change my plans and direct it to Omaha here in a month.
Hey.
Yeah, that's cool. All right, so drones. Drones are actually how we first met at the Texas Robotics Summit. We, as we're talking, my 20-part miniseries is releasing from that. We had Mike O'Shea released. Had Mike Pavone from Boston. Had guys from the FDNY guys at Austin, Texas TPS. It was a really awesome kind of wide range of, why drones, what are the applications? And one thing in particular that's been trending more and more is this whole drone as a first responder. We've talked a lot on this podcast about what are drones, why drones, the evolution. They're not toys, they're tools, and safety is number one priority. But drone as a first responder, I believe I first heard about it with Chula Vista, and they were kind of the first on the scene to do it. Now you're seeing more and more do it. But what's happening in Tulsa with DFR, and what's maybe unique about it, or kind of, and where are you at with the whole DFR initiative right now?
Okay. So, again, give credit where credit's due. Chula Vista, working with the FAA, kind of pioneered DFR, kind of got it out there, got more people thinking about it. Pearl in Texas took it to the next step using radar to get rid of the rooftop visual observer. So what Tulsa is doing is we are kind of doing our little variation of it as well. We are looking to do that DFR 2.0, basically using radars to deconflict both day and night in a location that we consider to be a response challenge. So we are trying to do it with homegrown companies, though. So I'm not sure how much people, if anybody knows anything about Tulsa or Oklahoma at all, fly over state. We are pretty rich in aeronautics, aerospace, and also oil and gas. So there's a lot of money, that drives that, and doing it more efficiently, whether it's inspections, stuff like that. Everyone's interested in moving forward in that realm. And so we have a lot of smart people here. And so we've decided to tap into those. And like, your company does this, your company does this. We need both of those. Let's work together. So instead of siloing information and each kind of, hiding what we're doing, we've formed a DFR collaborative with academia, Oklahoma State University, who's a big firefighting school for us. They do a lot of our training, FST. We brought them in, built this collaborative, and said, we need this. We need more of, we need more of this. We need prototyping. We need testing and engineering. We need, STEM outreach. We need, this in the workforce. So we've kind of come up with a collaborative, and following Tulsa Fire's lead on what we know about drones as a first responder, we have decided to give this program a push and try and start with this first spot, and then basically scale it across the rest of the state.
A lot to unpack there, but first I want to touch on the radar component in terms of having it. How is that working? And sort of my understanding is it's sort of passively looking for any potential other aircraft to make sure that there wouldn't be a potential issue, to then give the green light that, hey, that a DFR can be initiated to go look for someone that may be lost on the river.
Sure. So basically what the FAA likes to call is like deconfliction. So basically what it's doing is taking a person's eyes And what you would say, it's always the responsibility of the drone operator to get out of the way of the manned aircraft, or to avoid a conflict, a collision, that even if it's with another drone. Okay. So what this does is it allows us to know what's up there in that airspace, whether it's a manned aircraft, whether it's another drone, whether it's birds, whatever, and have that situational awareness so that we know that the area is safe. And it also gives us a heads up to say, hey, this is approaching, you need to get out of the way. We're doing that by integrating those radars into software that can speak to us and give us those early warnings, so that we can make sure that we keep the airspace safe, which the FAA has done a great job of doing.
Man, that's cool. And then now you had mentioned the involvement of academia, Oklahoma State in particular, and had the fortune of getting to talk with OAIR a little bit, and James and the program he's building out over there. What is OAIR and Oklahoma State's sort of role and involvement, and how are they kind of being a piece of the puzzle that's helping continue to drive this kind of Tulsa Robotics Innovation Initiative?
So OAIR does a lot of work with beyond visual line of sight. We've particularly been looking at we practice doing blood deliveries to a scene, using fixed wing, using quadcopter aircraft. So they do a lot of work in prototyping and testing in Stillwater. They also have campuses in Tulsa and Oklahoma City. So that kind of helps, having it right around the corner. They are also a big part of Tulsa was designated a tech hub, and that brought in some federal dollars. And so they kind of help to distribute that to say what going to help push this region forward. And they've seen this as a worthy project, and so they've been involved in it and help us troubleshoot and find solutions and push forward. So they've helped a lot with funding.
Even just hearing James talk about the desire and drive to be this ecosystem for this, I think this area is a tech innovation hub.
Yes.
Designated, and how OK State's sort of acting as this other sort of, I guess I would describe it as like a catalyst and a magnet and an enabler for all this stuff. It seems like now Tulsa's continued to be a practitioner of this tech, and DFR, we're now kind of on the cusp of it here. What you being a practitioner of all this robotic work, what do you see in the next 12 to 60 months? What do you see as the next kind of milestones or opportunities for continued integration of technology for good within Tulsa FD?
So what I envision is a better collaboration. Right now the fire department's got their program, police got theirs. Some of the city departments, whether it's water or parks, they've got their own. We kind of don't know what each other's doing, what our capabilities are. What I'd like to do is build a collaborative in that realm for the city to say, okay, we have this equipment. When this disaster strikes or when this is needed, we have this. We can complement each other. And not only in aerial robotics, but the fire department also uses a lot of underwater, ground, subterranean, that we've had to reach out to, other partners out of the state, whatever. We didn't realize that, our water and sewage, had the capability here. So having those discussions on what it is that we're trying to accomplish and how we can help each other out is one big thing. So collaboration is huge. What I hopefully see is us expanding from that one single location to scaling across the city, across the region. Help, Oklahoma City's working on something as well, and kind of helping Oklahoma and our neighboring states to kind of help the Midwest maybe not be a flyover state anymore, or if it's a flyover state, maybe it's for a whole lot of technology and drones doing good.
Yeah, and stop in and do some good for a little bit.
Yeah.
I was pleasantly surprised and excited that being based in Chicago, there's quite a bit of nonstop flights to Chicago and Tulsa, which is, I think, another sign that I got to come hang out with Gabe in Tulsa a bit more.
Hey, you are always welcome. You know that.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. I know one other thing that we had talked about, and this kind of ties in with this whole ways that data is being seen and used, is these three letters called TAC, or actually sometimes the fourth letter, ATAC, ITAC, or WinTAC, whatever. But general, I think ATAC, TAC in particular, what people know. What is TAC in your opinion, and what are you kind of looking at or thinking about with all things TAC?
So for me and what I have learned so far, TAC seems to be a great common operating picture. basically it's bringing all that information into one place to where you can easily access it. It's accessible no matter where you're at, whether it's feeds for drones, whether it's controlling robotics, whether it's map layers, whether all that kind of stuff. We've actually got an integration partner here locally, a software company that's helping us do that stuff as well. But TAC would just kind of help build into that. So I'm very interested. I think I've told you I'm taking baby steps to learning it all. Coming from the Apple side, I haven't been around an Android system in quite a while, but I'm getting there. And it's really it's exciting to see, like I say, not only drones but just technology as a whole being used for good, for the warfighter, for first responders, for the citizens.
Yeah, and I mean it's all about continue to be open to trying some of these new technologies. And what I like about TAC is I know that at least the foundation of it is free to first responders. Of course, there are all the other some of the plugins and the hardware devices you use that aren't free, but nonetheless, it's a good starting point. And if it was developed by the Air Force Research Lab, it's got something going for it.
That's right.
And yeah, I mean, one other thing you mentioned, this kind of common operating picture and some of the software you use. I'd love to kind of one of the final things is like consuming this data and experiencing this data. You talked about you're on the CRT team, but also, granted we're here, this is all kind of the USAR kind of equipment. Like sometimes you're just going out in the field, you don't have much time, and all of a sudden you need information. Even if you kind of speak to kind of like how you're receiving and experiencing, kind of consuming data while you're like on the scene or arriving to a scene, and what would you say to maybe even other entrepreneurs or companies about how to think about creating data and displaying and integrating this data to make it more operationally relevant to end users like yourself?
One thing I'd have to say is making sure that the users are able to be proficient in it. So obviously, whenever we get to a disaster, it's not the time to learn how to use something, whether it's a robot or software. And then knowing what the capabilities are without connectivity. I'll just give you an example of about a week and a half ago, we had a tornado just northwest of Tulsa, and over middle of the night, most of us are in dead sleep. Tornado has hit, it's an F4, it's wiped out. It's had a 40-mile track, and it's gone across, it's one of the smaller suburbs, but it's wreaked havoc. So we're deployed. We're there within, 2 hours on site, and that's not the time to try and get everything situated and ready and realize that the cell towers are out and there's no connectivity and stuff like that. So what's great is working with those software partners, having partners like Oklahoma State University, Tulsa Automation Labs, stuff like that. We have a backbone, somebody that we can reach out to and say, hey, we need help with this. Get me that information. Having a relay, making mesh networks and stuff like that we can have a way to communicate, to get information through when it's needed. Obviously, in time of disaster is probably one of the biggest tests. Mm-hmm. Plan for the worst, I guess, is what I would say to those who are in development is make sure that it's, I don't want to say put an easy button on it for firefighters or first responders, but as easy as you can make it, as simple, because we are ingesting a lot of information. And trying to get that out to others is not always as easy as one might think, when you're in the middle of the city on, writing the program, whatever.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. And then I know you've kind of alluded to some of this throughout our conversation so far, but, it's May 2024, but what's on the horizon for you in the short term? And then also kind of, what are you most excited about with what's happening here in Tulsa? With all these, moving exciting pieces that are happening?
Well, for me, I'm excited that hopefully maybe some funding comes available where I can make robotics my primary job requirement. I do enjoy the crisis response, but it's been hard doing 2 full-time jobs with only 7 days in the week. If we had a couple extra days in the week or something like that, it might be helpful. But also I am excited to see what our partners domestically, anywhere across the nation and or specifically here in Oklahoma, or in this region, can come up with. I mean, I know that, we're going to have a new place for testing. It's called WindShape that will be opening up at the Skyway drone port here in Tulsa. And they will be doing certification testing. For manned aircraft, we know what to expect, what that flight envelope is. For unmanned systems, not so much. It's kind of been a guessing game and a trial and error. it would be good to know that these are the parameters that you need to live by so you can, take care of your equipment, make it last longer. I know technology changes constantly, daily, stuff like that, but this would be a good start to being able to expand on that, making it, I guess, more, I don't know, more usable in the future, or expandable.
Operationally relevant.
Yeah, I lost my words.
Yeah, some buzzword of sorts. But I guess actually, final thing that just kind of came back to me is the where we may have crossed paths somewhere in the past, but I know for sure we definitely connected at the Texas Robotics Summit.
Mm-hmm.
To a plug for them right now, what is that event in your words? Why is it a valuable event, and why should people put that event on their calendar for 2025?
So I've had friends trying to get me to go for a couple of years now, and this is the first year where it actually worked out where I could go, and actually got to instruct some, and completely different than any other conference or event. Hands-on, putting the equipment through tests, getting able to do it is completely different than seeing it sitting on a shelf, at some of the other, robotics conferences and stuff like that. It was fantastic. You had first responders who are actually using the equipment. I learned as much from them as they probably learned from me. So it's fantastic. I highly recommend it to anybody that can make it down there. And I'm hoping that, that continues to expand, that maybe there's more days and more hands-on.
Yeah, to me, it's the most productive, efficient, really meaningful, impactful, all those adjective event I've ever been to. I mean, there was, of course, all these shows are good in some capacity, but there's some of that death by PowerPoint that's very real. But there, it is a little bit of PowerPoint, a little bit of talking, but then it's like, hey,
let's go play.
Let's go do it in the field. And it's truly the Rebel Peak Ranch and the Grant Defense Team. I mean, they just do an awesome job. So I'm already looking forward to next year and just continuing to learn and apply. I think it's one of my big takeaways from that. And frankly, even just being here in Tulsa with you, of just kind of, talking about it, but then also just doing it, and then kind of seeing, I know you've got some meetings later today to continue to take it to the next level. So kudos to you, man. And just on behalf of Smart Firefighting and, just the whole industry, thanks for where you lead in and being the tip of spear for some of this really awesome, exciting stuff.
Well, I appreciate it, man. We really enjoy having you here on behalf of the Tulsa Fire Department. Seriously, you're welcome anytime. And we really thank you for taking the time to talk to us.
Of course, man. Until next time.
All right, dude.
See ya.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. What did you think? What did you learn? Hopefully something, right? Please reach out on social media with your thoughts on this episode and any other suggestions for future content. We look forward to capturing more important stories across public safety and are here at your service.